One day they were everywhere: magazine covers, movie premieres, box office gold. Their names alone could sell out a theater. Then nothing. No farewell tour, no goodbye interview, no explanation splashed across the tabloids. Just an empty space where a superstar used to be. Some walked away by choice. Some were pushed. Some simply disappeared into a life nobody expected. Today, we're counting down 20 Hollywood stars who vanished almost overnight, and the real stories behind why they never came back the same way. 20. Greta Garbo. Greta Garbo wasn't just famous. In the 1920s and 30s, she was arguably the most photographed woman on the planet. Then, in 1941, at the peak of her fame, she made a decision that shocked the industry. She simply stopped acting. There was no farewell film, no retirement tour. Garbo quietly moved to New York and spent the next 5 decades avoiding cameras entirely, becoming one of the most famous recluses in entertainment history. She reportedly turned down countless offers to return to the screen, preferring anonymous walks through Manhattan to any red carpet. She died in 1990, having spent more years hiding from fame than she ever spent chasing it. 19. Rick Moranis. For an entire generation, Rick Moranis was comedy itself. Ghostbusters, Spaceballs, Little Shop of Horrors, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids. He seemed destined to be a comedy fixture for decades. Then his wife passed away from cancer, and Moranis made a choice that stunned Hollywood. He stepped back from acting almost entirely to raise his children as a single father. For nearly 2 decades, he turned down role after role, including a highly publicized return for the Ghostbusters reboot, because nothing mattered more than being present for his kids. It's one of the rare Hollywood disappearances that had nothing to do with scandal and everything to do with love. 18. Sean Connery. Sean Connery redefined what a leading man could be, from Bond to countless acclaimed dramas. But in 2003, after the poorly received League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, something in him simply switched off. He announced his retirement not long after, and unlike so many actors who retire and quietly return, Connery meant it. He turned down the chance to appear in a later Indiana Jones sequel, a decision that, in hindsight, given how that film was received, may have been the right call. He never appeared on screen again before his death in 2020. 17. Gene Hackman. Gene Hackman built one of the most respected filmographies in American cinema. Then, in 2004, he starred in a little-seen comedy called Welcome to Mooseport and simply walked away. There was no dramatic announcement, no press conference. He redirected his focus entirely into writing novels, stepping fully out of the industry that had defined him for decades. Fans wouldn't fully process that his career was over until years later, when it became clear he simply wasn't coming back. 16. Joe Pesci. Joe Pesci was, by 1999, one of the most electric character actors alive. Goodfellas, Casino, My Cousin Vinny. He was in constant demand. And then, at the absolute height of his career, he simply walked away. No scandal forced him out. No box office failure ended his run. He just decided he'd had enough of the industry's demands and stepped back almost entirely from acting, choosing a quieter, more private life instead. 15. Phoebe Cates. Phoebe Cates delivered one of the most iconic scenes of 1980s cinema in Fast Times at Ridgemont High, and cemented her stardom with Gremlins. She had every opportunity to keep climbing. Instead, in the mid-90s, she chose to step away and raise a family with husband Kevin Kline. Her only return to film came in 2001, as a personal favor to her friend and co-star Jennifer Jason Leigh. Since then, she's built a quiet life around her family, and a boutique she opened in New York, a proof that not every ending in Hollywood is tragic. 14. Mike Myers. Mike Myers seemed unstoppable. Wayne's World, Austin Powers, Shrek. He was one of the biggest comedic forces in the industry. Then came 2008's The Love Guru, a critical disaster that seemed to coincide with his near-total disappearance from Hollywood. But in a later interview, Myers pushed back on that narrative, saying his retreat to New York wasn't really about one bad film. He simply needed distance from the machine that had built him. Whatever the real reason, the effect was the same. One of comedy's biggest stars vanished almost overnight. 13. Macaulayculkin. No child star burned brighter in the early 90s than Macaulay Culkin. After Home Alone became a global phenomenon, he was arguably the most famous kid on Earth. And then he vanished. Culkin stepped back from the spotlight for years, living a famously private and unconventional life, reportedly splitting time in Paris, before slowly re-emerging on his own terms, entirely removed from the child star machine that once surrounded him. 12. Linda Fiorentino. In the 1990s, Linda Fiorentino was one of the most talked-about actresses in Hollywood, breaking through with The Last Seduction and starring alongside Will Smith in Men in Black. Then, sometime in the 2000s, she simply stopped making movies. There was no retirement announcement, no interview explaining her choice. She hasn't been seen in public in years, and to this day, fans and industry insiders can only speculate about what led one of the era's most promising stars to disappear so completely and so quietly. 11. Amanda Bynes. Amanda Bynes was a bona fide teen icon, carrying films and a hit sketch show throughout the 2000s. Her career seemed to have no ceiling. In 2010, at the height of her fame, she announced an indefinite hiatus from acting to focus on her personal life. In the years since, she's spoken openly about her struggles and her path toward healing, studied fashion design, and stepped fully out of the industry spotlight. A disappearance that, unlike so many others on this list, she's chosen to discuss honestly and publicly. 10. Jonathan Taylor Thomas. As the heartthrob of home improvement and the voice of young Simba in The Lion King, Jonathan Taylor Thomas had one of the most bankable names among 90s teen stars. Instead of chasing bigger roles, he walked straight into academia, attending both Harvard and Columbia. It was a bold reversal of the usual Hollywood trajectory, choosing a classroom over a film set, and he's maintained a famously low profile ever since, appearing only occasionally for reunions or nostalgia specials. 9. Taylor